Hey everyone, Mitch coming in for the Commander's Core Studio. Welcome to the show. So on today's episode, I've got an exciting, overpowered, very exclusive card that neither of us will ever see in our lifetimes, most likely in person, because this is a card that is from Heroes of the Realm, which is, well, only given to very select people from Wizards. And if you want to play with this card, well, first ask your playgroup, and then also proxy it instead of spending like, $1,000 on this, or even more depending on what this is, because again, the supply is going to be so low. With all that said, let's jump into the card. And the name of this card I'm probably going to butcher, so my apologies in advance. Treizeci? Let's go with that. Son of Serra, a 3/3 human knight, 4/3 and a white. And I should mention, thank you MTG.design. Again, this is not the actual version of the card, because the actual printed version of the card's like sideways and slightly blurry. So yeah, I just basically made a custom card that just took all the text from it and then also just put the picture there, which is a little blurry. But yes, this is exactly what the card does. It says, companion, your starting deck contains only nostalgic cards, which are apparently nostalgic cards. Retro frames, legends, and artifacts are nostalgic. I guess makes sense mostly for like, hey, old cards. So yes, that makes sense for retro frames. I think they also just wanted to be like, let's also just include legends in there, because this could only fit with certain commanders then essentially that, well, had retro frames or were old cards essentially. And also artifacts is like, throw that in there too. Why not, I guess. Vigilance, whenever you cast a nostalgic spell, you may pay 2. If you do, you get a counter on Treizeci Sun of Serra for each counter on it, and also create a Serra Angel token. So that's pretty spicy right there. So the Son of Serra is making Serra Angel tokens, which of course is a very nostalgic card that dominated Magic years and years and years ago. We'll talk about what exactly that card does here in a second, in case you aren't aware what Serra Angel does. But yeah, so this is basically a token producer on a companion that can basically, again, fit with essentially any deck. I guess as long as it just includes retro frames, legends, and artifacts, which actually there are a good amount of retro frame cards out there, because Wizards is now reprinting, some newer cards essentially with a retro frame, so you can utilize those. I think I looked it up, and there's around 6,000 or 7,000 cards right now in Magic out of the 25,000 or so that are retro frames. So that plus the artifacts that don't have retro frames, plus the legendaries that don't either, that is your total card pool essentially for this one. Yeah, this is a card that can be very, very powerful. Again, can become, well, a huge threat essentially. You just get one counter on this, then every single time you play a nostalgic card, you pay that 2, you double that up, and that can just get massive over time. Of course, I would say the most broken version of this is probably, in most cases, usually is artifacts, because artifacts are very easily used and abused. There are certain commanders out there that can really work really well with this one. But also, of course, like Angel Tribal could be a thing with this too, because, hey, you get Serra Angels every single time you play a legendary. So kind of like legendary Angel Tribal with some artifacts, and there's also retro frame Angels out there too. Could be a very interesting build. Again, this is a companion. I think this is actually technically, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, there are 10 original companions from Ikoria, right? And I think 2 of those are banned, or 2 not banned, but only 1 is banned. 1 doesn't work as a companion because of the rules of Commander only having 100 card decks. But I think this would be technically the 9th companion that works, so keep that in mind. Regardless, a very interesting card, and one that, again, neither of us are ever going to see, most likely, unless you are a employee of Wizards that happen to get one of these. Congratulations. But if not, and you want to play with this, ask your playgroup first, and then proxy it. Because, yeah, spending $1,000 on this or more might not be a possibility for everyone out there, including myself. So, yeah, let's jump into some things to consider with this. And again, also just, hey, if you've never seen a Serra Angel before, let's go into that. Okay, so really quick, Serra Angel. Here you go. If you've never seen what a Serra Angel is, this is it. A 4/4 Angel for 5 mana, flying, vigilance. So very simple, very effective, yeah. Hard to believe that this card dominated Magic years and years and years ago, but it definitely did, because that was just such a powerful creature. Things are a little different now. It's still not a bad creature, obviously. These days, if you're going to be spending 5 mana on that, you're probably getting a lot more. That being said, yeah, when you have this on a companion that can just keep making more and more and more of them, that can be a very, very, very powerful effect, just filling the board with a bunch of angels while also becoming a massive threat in and of itself. So yes, I mean, being able to token produce these can be quite effective, making 4/4 flying Vigilant Angels again, and again. Next up again, when it comes to the retro frame, yeah, these are now apparently nostalgic cards. Rhythm of the Wild, who knew? It's kind of funny actually with these old retro frame cards or newer cards that are now in old retro frames. They actually like kind of look like they were from way back when. So if you're not familiar with the card itself and knowing that Rhythm of the Wild came out, I think in like War of the Spark or somewhere around there, like one of the Ravnica ones essentially. But yeah, this is not an old card, but it kind of looks old. So yeah, there you go. This is a nostalgic card now because it does have that retro frame. So that counts for the companion. So make sure you're keeping that in mind. This one specifically is good with this new companion because it says, hey, well, creature spells you control can't be countered. So that's very, very nice. Very, very powerful to have on an enchantment that's low to the ground. It also says non-token creatures you control have Riot, which means that you can have them come into play with either haste or a counter on them. So getting that first counter started can be absolutely massive for this brand new Son of Serra being able to just, hey, okay, I've got 1. Now pay the 2. I got 2. Pay the 2. Got 4. So on and so forth. Also, hey, Forgotten Ancient. Yeah, that's in a retro frame here as well. A 0/3 elemental for 4 mana. Whenever a player casts a spell, get a counter on this. Beginning of your upkeep, you may move any number of counters from it onto other creatures. So, yeah, disperse those counters however you want. Again, you're playing Game of Commander. You're going to have a lot of spells cast from everyone, a lot of counters on this. And if you put them on the Son of Serra, you're getting an absurd effect because you just play 1 nostalgic card, you pay 2, and you double that to just an oblivion amount of power, essentially. So, yeah, that can be quite effective. Next up, how about an artifact to consider as well? Again, this is just the kind of commander where it's like, okay, you know what? There are some things that you're not going to be able to utilize. All right, I should say companion, not commander. There are some things that you're not going to be able to utilize, right? Like if Hardened Scales doesn't have a retro frame version of it, and I don't believe it does yet, then all of a sudden you're like, oh, I can't use that for this counters-based, strategy potentially if I'm going in that direction. That being said, you've got other options like the Ozlith, I should say, the Shattered Spire, a legendary artifact for 2. If 1 or more counters we put on an artifact or creature you control, that many +1 are put on it instead. Pay 1 and a green, tap, put a counter on target artifact or creature you control, activate only as a sorcery, cycling 2. So basically, hey, when you're getting counters on things, you get 1 extra. That's nice, obviously, when you activate the ability, or yeah, just getting things started off on the Son of Serra. So yeah, make sure you're considering, obviously, artifacts that work well with that, as well as legends. And of course, I assume, this is an assumption, I believe, they're a little more flexible when it comes to these Heroes of the Realm cards and like what they call things, but just said like legends, which I assume is like anything that is legendary. They didn't specify that, like they didn't say like legendary permanents. I think it's just anything that is legendary would count there. Let me know if I messed that up though. Rules lawyers out there, please. Elspeth Resplendent. 5 starting loyalty for Elspeth. That has 5 mana. +1, choose up to 1 target creature, get a counter on it, and then a counter from among flying, first strike, lifelink, or vigilance. -3, you may put a permanent card with value 3 or among them on the battlefield, a shield counter on it. The rest of them on your library in random order. -7, 5/3/3 angels with flying. So basically, this could go in a deck around this. Obviously, I mean, nostalgic could just be all like Super Friends, essentially. You could go Planeswalkers with this because that would be technically nostalgic as long as it's including legendaries, obviously. But yes, with this one specifically says, hey, let's get that counter train started on this card. Being able to get that first counter on it, again, is a big deal, so keep that in mind. Also, just giving it another one of those counters, probably not Vigilance because it already has that, but yeah, giving it flying, first strike, lifelink can all be very beneficial. And then also, again, yeah, that ultimate right there, getting more and more angels out there. That's going to be great for an angel tribal build, of course. And then, yeah, hey, you know what else? We have legendary artifacts. So this counts for both. It doesn't really matter that it has both. It just has one. Like Tarion Soul Cleaver, though, this is a legendary artifact that counts for 2 parts of that nostalgic right. Vigilance, that doesn't really help our, Son of Serra, but what it does help is when an artifact or creature is put in grave from the battlefield, get a counter on equipped creature. That can make this absolutely massive, which again can just double every single time you play any kind of nostalgic card. So yeah, this kind of a card is absurd. So yeah, even though you are kind of limited in this, depending on, again, if you're going like Angel Tribal, if you're just going like Token Tribal wide, if you're going counters, you have a lot of power things that you can use with this when it comes to, retro frame cards. And again, check out that list on Scryfall, essentially. But also artifacts and also legends. You've got a lot of great options for this kind of a card. Now let's talk about some commanders that might want to consider this one as their companion. First up, one that helps you out a lot because it's giving you access to a lot of colors, of course, and helps in other ways too, obviously. Atraxa Praetor's Voice. 4/4. Flying, Vigilant, Death Touch, Lifelink for 4 mana in every color but red. At the beginning of your end step, proliferate. So basically, choose anything, get an extra counter on it, essentially. So basically, again, this companion says, you know what, get counters on me, and then the more counters I have, I can double those up and get absurdly large. Atraxa says, hey, just get 1 counter on you to start, and I can make that 2. Then you can double up to 4 when you're playing things, and then I'll give you another one, 5, double up to 10. Really helps and just gets things going really, really quickly. Obviously, if you're going like counter strategy too, that can really help if you're going wide in counters as well. Like, you know, hey, put a counter on all your creatures. All of a sudden, those Serra Angels that you're making too, which start off as 4/4s, right? You're going to be getting counters on them, and then you're going to be growing them bigger and bigger and bigger throughout the game with proliferate effects. So yeah, Atraxa can definitely go in a counter strategy. Could also go with Super Friend strategy as well, so that's another direction to take it. Could even go artifacts, probably. So there you go. Also, of course, we do have Angel Tribal as a possibility. This one's a bit more specific, though, because, yeah, there's only so many Angels out there that are retro frame. There are some good ones, though, very good ones. Obviously, Legendary Angels to count. And the commander that could lead you is Giada Fawn of Hope. 2/2 Flying Vigilance. Each other angel enters the battlefield, they counter on it for each angel you already control. Tap for a white. Specifically cast an angel spell. Yeah, the thing that this does not specify is non-token angel, which means that, again, when you're making those Serra Angels, they're going to become massive when they come in, because for each Serra Angel you're making, or each angel you're getting in the battlefield, the more counters you're going to be getting on the next one that you have come into play. So again, what would normally be a 4/4 Vigilance, which still isn't bad, Flying Vigilance, all of a sudden now becomes like a 10/10 Flying Vigilant. Every single time you just like play a Nostalgic Spell, pay 2. All of a sudden, yeah, you're getting all those counters on the Son of Serra, but you're also getting an absurd amount of counters on your Serra avatars as well. Also, like a Lyra Dawnbringer could also be another option when it comes to Angel Tribal. This one just already buffs your angels, including those Serra Angels. It's going to be really good. 5/5 Legendary Creature Angel for 5 mana. Flying First Strike, Lifelink. This one, actually, ironically, I should have mentioned, has a retro frame and is also a legendary, so it counts for 2, really. Other angels you control get ++1 and have Lifelink. So again, giving that little boost, and it's not that little, really, but giving that boost to your Serra Angels can be absolutely massive by saying, okay, again, instead of being 4/4s with Vigilance, with Flying, it's still great. Now they're 5/5 Vigilant, Lifelink, Flying Angels, just by paying 2 mana when you're playing a Nostalgic Spell. Yeah, that can add up a lot throughout the game. You're going to be padding your life total a ton. Of course, there's some synergies that you can work with when it comes to life gain type effects as well. You can do a lot with this. And yeah, that's a pretty spicy companion to add onto it. Next up, how about artifacts, though? And also, again, another commander that does have a retro frame now. Again, you just check out that list. There's like a lot of them these days on Scryfall. You can see that there are a lot of retro frame cards. Again, it doesn't really matter because it's already a legend. But anyways, 2/3 Fairy Warlock for 4 mana. Flying, Death Touch, Lifelink. Other creature control with Flying, get +1/+0. Whenever you cast an artifact or enchantment spell, make a 1/1 blue fairy creature with Flying. Specifically, this would obviously work best with an artifact strategy around Alayla, because again, the companion says, hey, yeah, we need artifacts in here, or retro frames, or legends. So going artifact tribal with this can be very effective. And again, you're making those 1/1 fairies with Flying. Great, but they're actually 2/1s because of this pump effect on this, which is lovely. But also now, when you are making those Serra Angels again, obviously they're flyers, so you're making 5/4s. And again, just that little boost gives you a lot of extra value. And so that could definitely be a really cool companion for this kind of a card as well in Esper. Next up, 5 color, though, also an option. Always an option, right? Joda the Unifier, 5/5 Human Wizard for Wooburg. Legendary creatures you control get +X/+X, or actually number of legendary creatures you control. Whenever you cast a legendary spell from your hand, exile cards to the top of your library until you exile a legendary non-land card with lesser mana value. Cast the card with paying its mana cost, put the rest of the bottom of your library in random order. Yeah, you're probably already going like full legend tribal with this kind of a commander, essentially. You might have to like take out certain things that don't have a retro frame that you might need for this kind of a deck as well, or at least want, I should say. That being said, yeah, a legendary tribal build could be incredibly effective with this as the companion, because there are so many legends. I mean, we're getting an absurd amount every single year, essentially. So you've got a lot of cards. You have a lot of access for this new companion potential. But yeah, Joda just gives you an absurd amount of value, basically legendary cascade plus pumping it absurd amount. And unfortunately, those Serra avatars that you're making are not legendary. I mean, actually, fortunately, but not fortunately, because fortunately, they would just be sacrificed then, you know, by getting multiple out. Unfortunately, they don't get the pump from Joda. That being said, so going wide, getting extra power, and obviously giving extra power to the Son of Serra, that can do a lot for you. So yeah, again, you can go artifacts, you can go, I guess you could go full retro frame these days if you really want to just focus on all retro frame for this companion. You could go legends, you could go artifacts. There's a lot of different great options for you out there, Angel Travel as well. But yeah, overall, a very interesting Heroes of the Realm card. One that, again, I don't know if we've seen any kind of like companions from Heroes of the Realm. I don't think we have. And actually, when it comes to companions, again, yeah, I mean, this is a very interesting requirement. Only nostalgic cards. Retro frames, I think, is definitely nostalgic. Legends, artifacts, that's interesting. I mean, they definitely said legend just so you could utilize this with any commander, so you're not just like, oh, okay, well, my commander doesn't have a retro frame that I want to use this for, so I can't use it. Darn. Like, actually, I looked up there. There are a lot of Atraxa, cards out there, essentially. There's no retro frame Atraxa yet, so that would not count. That being said, it does count it. So also artifacts for some reason they threw that in there, which is interesting. I guess that makes it so that you can still build like an effective deck if you like don't have ramp for it. That would just be in retro or legends. So you could just be like, okay, yeah, I've got mana rocks. So that's probably where they went with that. That being said, a very interesting new card. One that, again, could be very powerful in the right strategy. Just making a ton of Serra Angels is very nostalgic, and just being able to just dominate the board with them, and also just hit for an absurd amount with this. Again, you just get a 1 counter on this to start. You can double that again, and it takes it no time at all for it to become like a 2-shot or 1-shot KO on players. So a really interesting companion. Make sure you comment below. Let me know your thoughts are on it. If you're interested in any of the cards on this episode, I'll include a link to those cards in the description below. And if you are interested in this one, I mean, either drop $1,000 or so on the secondary market on it, because again, this is a low supply card that was just given as a gift to some WotC employees, I believe. And yeah, or just proxy it. There you go. So yeah, let me know in the comments what your thoughts are. And of course, as always, thanks again, and have a good one. This show and episodes like this one are possible thanks to viewers like you. If you're looking for an easy way to help support this show, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Also, hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss any new episodes. You can also go check out our playmats and other merchandise at thecommandersquarters.com. We also have a ton of brand new t-shirt designs in stock, so make sure you check out those as well. Another easy way to support this show is with our TCG Player affiliate links. So whether you're buying a deck or individual cards, you can use this general link right here or one in the description. And the final way that you can support this show is by supporting us directly by becoming a patron. There are many benefits to being a patron, and I truly couldn't do this without all of their support.